Death of the Iceman. During a few days of unusually warm weather in 1991, two hikers in the Tyrolean Alps, a mountain range between Italy and Austria, came upon a startling sight. Trapped in the melting ice and snow was the body of a man. After they were called to the scene, the police soon realized that this was not a lost hiker. Wind and cold had dried the body so that the flesh looked like a mummy's flesh. Surrounding the body were signs of primitive clothing and tools. Who was this man? How long ago had he journeyed this way? Why had he died here? The body was taken to Austria, where scientists began trying to solve the mystery of Otzi the Iceman, as newspapers called him. He was named for the Otzel area where he was found. Careful examination of the body showed that the Iceman had been a 110-pound, 5'3" man in his 40s. His dark hair and beard were cut short. Still, researchers were not certain how long ago he had lived. Tests conducted on his body and tools, including the grains of pollen found on his hair and clothing, indicated something incredible. The Iceman was 5,300 years old. He was the oldest frozen mummy ever found. To find more clues, Austrian archaeologist Konrad Spindler examined photographs taken at the Tyrolean site, made a layout of the Iceman's position and the items that were found near the body. Spindler was especially interested in the position of the Iceman's copper axe, which was propped against a rock. He theorized that the Iceman had put it there himself. From that point, Spindler concluded that everything else at the site had been undisturbed until the body was found. In short, he suggested the Iceman died alone. The Iceman's body was slumped face down, his chin resting on his arm. His cap lay nearby as it had fallen from his head. By his side was a powerful 6-foot bow. But why had he died? He seemed prepared for travel. On the other hand, the pollen in his hair was from autumn flowering plants. Perhaps he had tried to cross the mountain too late in the fall and was caught in a snowstorm. In that case, the cause of death was hypothermia, loss of body heat due to cold. Then scientists uncovered another clue. Using x-rays and computer-assisted tomography, CAT scans, scientists saw that the Iceman had unhealed rib fractures. Now Spindler added to his theory. He suggested the Iceman had probably been a shepherd in the mountains. One autumn, returning home to the valley with his animals, he must have become involved in a fight and received a fracturing blow to his ribs. The Iceman managed to escape. While hiding or resting in the shelter of a shallow gully, he died from the bitter cold and was covered over with ice. That seemed to explain everything, at least for the time being. In 1998, the Iceman was transferred to Italy. Since 1993, the Italians had been arguing that because it had been found just inside the Italian border, the body technically belonged in Italy. Now, at last, the Iceman arrived at a specially built museum in the town of Bolzano. Peter Vinzi, a forensic pathologist, a specialist in determining causes of death, was eager to challenge the Austrian archaeologist's theories. He immediately went to work. While examining the contents of the Iceman's intestine, Vinzi found hop hornbeam pollen. The pollen was very well preserved, which would mean that the Iceman had eaten it soon after the flowering of the plant and just before he died. The hop hornbeam only flowers between March and June, so the Iceman must have died in the spring, not the fall. Also, new examination showed that the Iceman's ribs had been fractured before his death. They must have been damaged when the body was removed from the site. Perhaps they broke under the weight of the ice piled on the Iceman for thousands of years. The mystery of the Iceman remained a standstill until June 2001, when Italian researchers decided to take one more x-ray. This time, a radiologist from a local hospital spotted the shadow of a foreign object near the Iceman's shoulder. It was shaped like an arrowhead. 10 years after research had begun, an overlooked stone arrowhead was removed from the Iceman's shoulder. Perhaps Spindler had been at least partially right. The Iceman had been hit in the shoulder with an arrow and had reached back to pull it out, but the shaft snapped off. With the arrow still embedded, he stopped to rest and, weakened by the bleeding, froze to death. One more important detail was yet to emerge. Edward Igarto Viegel was the official caretaker of the Iceman at the South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Bolzano, Italy. During the making of a film about the Iceman, he met for the first time a hiker named Aloy Perpamer, who had seen the body lying where it was found. Perpamer had said the Iceman appeared to be holding a knife in his right hand. The knife must have been jarred loose when the body was removed from the ice. Vigil re-examined the Iceman's right hand using x-rays. The finger bones were curled in such a way that the Iceman could have been holding something. Vigil also noticed for the first time a deep gash on the Iceman's hand. Near the wrist, the bone was damaged, too. The Iceman had apparently fought for his life in his last hours in a hand-to-hand fight. Why was the Iceman attacked? There are many different theories. Copper weapons were very rare 5,000 years ago. Perhaps the Iceman proudly showed his copper axe to strangers who wanted it badly enough to kill him for it. He fought them off and fled. Tired and wounded, he froze to death while his prized weapon propped up beside him. Examination of the Iceman's body. Spindler, archaeologist, examined photographs from the site, took x-rays and CAT scans. Vinzi, forensic pathologist, examined contents of Iceman's intestine. Vigil, caretaker of Iceman at Museum of Archaeology, examined Iceman's right hand using x-rays. 1. Why was the Iceman's body taken to Austria? A. So reporters could write about the body. B. So a museum could place the body on display. C. So Conrad Spindler could photograph the body. D. So scientists could study the body more carefully. 2. What did Conrad Spindler believe caused the Iceman's fractured ribs? A. The Iceman had been involved in a fight. B. The Iceman had fallen against hard rocks. C. Heavy piles of ice and snow collected on the Iceman's body. D. Scientists damaged the ribs when moving the Iceman's body. 3. Why did scientists keep changing their minds about how the Iceman died? A. None of them had time to study the body. B. None of them had permission to examine the body. C. None of them had complete information about the body. D. None of them wanted to compete with others to determine the answer. 4. Which of the following was mentioned in the passage as a possible cause of the Iceman's death? A. Animal attack. B. Broken ribs. C. Hypothermia. D. Starvation. 5. Which word best describes the general tone of this passage? A. Argumentative. B. Informative. C. Mysterious. D. Playful. 6. Why does the author include a series of questions in the first paragraph of the passage? A. To show confusion about the Iceman's origin. B. To criticize the methods used in studying the Iceman's body. C. To explain how scientists plan to study the Iceman's body. D. To stir the reader's interest in the mystery surrounding the Iceman. 7. Which sentence from the passage best supports the scientist's theory that the Iceman fought for his life shortly before he died? A. Vigil also noticed for the first time a deep gash on the Iceman's hand. B. Perpamer said that the Iceman appeared to be holding a knife in his right hand. C. The knife must have been jarred loose when the body was removed from the ice. D. The finger bones were curled in a way that the Iceman could have been holding something. 8. Look at the chart on page 68. How did Vinzi's training as a forensic pathologist help solve the mystery of the Iceman? A. He examined the Iceman's hand with x-rays and determined that he died in a fight. B. He conducted tests on the Iceman's tools and determined how long the Iceman had been dead. C. He examined photographs from the site and determined that the Iceman died of hypothermia. D. He studied the contents of the Iceman's intestines and determined the time of year when he died. 9. Why does the author include information about Vigil's study of the Iceman? A. To show that continued studies on the Iceman offer new information. B. To show why the Iceman's body was transferred from Austria to Italy. C. To show the conclusion from the first studies done on the Iceman in Italy. D. To show how scientists determined the kind of food the Iceman ate just before his death. 10. Which of the following best describes the organization of the passage? A. Presenting the findings about the Iceman chronologically. B. Explaining each reason for the interest in the discovery of the Iceman. C. C. Ranking the findings about the Iceman from most to least accurate. D. Comparing and contrasting the findings of the many different scientists. 11. What was the author's main purpose in writing this passage? A. To persuade the reader to become an archaeologist. B. To show why scientists often disagree with one another. C. To inform the reader about an interesting archaeological find. D. To entertain the reader with the fictional account of a 5,300-year-old man. 12. Which of the following best summarizes the passage? A. The frozen body of a man was discovered in the Alps in 1991. Who was this man and how long ago did he live? How did he die? There are still many different theories about the Iceman. B. The frozen body of a man was discovered in the Alps in 1991. The body had been studied in both Austria and in Italy. Scientists use differing methods to study the body, depending upon their scientific speciality. Today, there are still many different theories about this Iceman and what happened to him. C. After the body of the Iceman, who lived more than 5,000 years ago, was discovered in the Alps, scientists disagreed about who the man was and what had happened to him. Today, they know that he probably was hurt in a fight and died in the snow. Scientists like Edward Egarter Vigel still study the Iceman. The frozen body of a man who lived more than 5,000 years ago was discovered in the Alps in 1991. Many archaeologists, forensic scientists, and radiologists have studied the body. Many new discoveries contradict previous findings. Today, there are still many different theories about the Iceman and how he died.